You guys have no idea how many times I've tried to make this video. I've written it a second time, filmed it, scrapped it, written it again, filmed it again, got halfway through editing, realized it was gonna be an hour long, and now I'm starting again. As you can probably tell, I have a lot of thoughts about music and specifically the song I'm going to talk about today. But before I do that, I'd like to quickly introduce myself and this channel since this is the first actual video I'm putting out. I love music. I like listening to it, making it, and playing it, but what I like more than anything is talking about it. So I've decided to start a project where in one video I get to talk about a song that I like and highlight all the things about it that make me happy. And in the next video, I get to make a brand new piece of music based on the things I liked about said song. I call it the Break a Song / Make a Song project, and this is the first episode. So hi, I'm Video, and I'm here to talk to you about music. Okay, let me start with a little bit of background info. The song we're looking at today is Stronger by TheFatRat, Anjulie, and Slaydit. Link to various streaming services in the description. It's a 2019 dubstep track, about 3.5 minutes long, and features Anjulie on the vocals while TheFatRat and Slaydit work their magic behind the scenes. TheFatRat is an instantly recognizable name for any dubstep fan. Even I have heard his music in the past, notably his remix of Foster the People's Don't Stop, which he severely improved for various reasons. However, the same might not be true for Anjulie or Slaydit, and that's because the former doesn't necessarily prioritize that specific niche as much, although you might know her from TheFatRat's work, and the latter because he's a brand new artist. Together, they form a really interesting mix of talent that ended up working really well for the song, and I definitely recommend checking out their individual stuff, if not for your own pleasure. But let's not get too caught up in the moment. If by now you haven't listened to Stronger, I recommend you do, since I don't plan on playing long clips if I play any at all. Now, I decided to talk about this song before I even knew what I wanted to say, and originally my plan was going to be to make a cover of it so that I would have a better understanding of how the song functions, and for once, actually know what I'm talking about. This spectacularly failed. Turns out one guy can't achieve in a week what 3 professionals did and probably more. In all seriousness, I have a general ranking of how easy a song is to cover that I like to call the Cover Agreeability Scale, or CAS for short. I don't want to dwell on it too long, and it's not objective at all, which is the important thing to say. But in my opinion, Stronger is a little bit lower on the CAS. I think covering Stronger in a way that would sound both good and appropriate to its artistic vision is no easy task, and that's where I get to my main point. The reason why Stronger is hard to cover, in my opinion, is because it has a story to tell, or more accurately, a message to pass on. I'm kind of spoiling this review, but here it is. Stronger compares and contrasts cynicism and anger in their more self-destructive forms, and makes both seem alien to the listener. And since we've gotten past the necessary info, let me explain how and why I'm right. I think most people can tell that this song is explicitly not very happy, even outside of any music theory things. The lyrics establish a defeatist atmosphere that's carried throughout the whole song. It's especially prevalent in lines like "Ain't no mercy in this life" and "There's nowhere left to run away." It's a pattern that's repeated in the second verse with "And there's no place left to hide and you've got nowhere to run away," which is my favorite line, by the way. And the song isn't just generally sad, it adopts a specific brand of sadness, one that I like to call nihilist philosophy fuckboy who has only ever read Nietzsche and constantly talks about how life is meaningless and we should all just die. Jesus, that was a long one. I'm poking fun at the mindset a little bit, but it's more or less what's depicted here, if simply just in a more sincere way. It's not the kind of nihilism that upholds a reckless love of life, rather it promotes complete indifference. For about half the text, the lyrics carry a dimension of abandon, as if survival isn't even worth the effort, which is obviously an unhealthy mindset to have. The other thing that immediately comes up is that Stronger has anger issues. The song is soaked in white hot rage just boiling under the surface. It's very apparent from the catchphrase, "getting stronger every day," but also in lines like "keep on pushing through the pain," "keep on running till we die" in the first verse, or "through the bullets and the flame," and "but the fire's in your eyes" in the second one. There too, it's not just anger, it's "I punched a hole in my wall because I got sniped on Fortnite" anger. Yes, again, I'm making fun of the emotion portrayed, but this time I honestly read a depiction of toxic masculinity. Before you flame me, let me explain. It feels like the general anger at the world one would feel if they were expected to express their emotions through violence, and were never given the tools to properly process their hurt. Again, this isn't a desirable or healthy mindset to have, and sometimes, even more than cynicism, it can be very self-destructive. Honestly, I could really just stop talking right there and have accomplished everything I wanted to for this review. The song is built around the two opposing but equally unhealthy mindsets I just highlighted, and everything that feels so great about it is achieved through how the song structures and plays with those themes. When you stick each line in broader categories of angry or sad, you end up with something that looks like this. But because the lines play off each other in groups of two, you end up with a structure that looks more like this. The fact that one of the pairs contains both anger and sadness may lead you to believe that it functions as a smooth transition from one theme to the next. But because the lines are so short, and because the anger doesn't get less angry and the sadness less sad, this transition almost serves as a way to take control of the jarring snap from one to the other. In short, the song actively seeks out the contrast between our two themes, but it doesn't just do so lyrically. Now, I'm going to try to stay on track and make my examples as clear as they can be so that you guys can follow even if you don't speak music snob. The song most definitely carries the aforementioned sadness in its instrumentation. That's where Anjulie's performance comes in, for example. She has a very smooth tone and approaches the lead part in a very matter-of-fact way. No flourishes, no syncopations, she's on point. Supported by a smooth and liquid-like harmony made up of a choir of her own voice, she sounds floaty and calm. There's definitely an air of melancholy to her voice. She's the last thing you hear before the hyper-violent drop, in the form of a repeat of two words: run away. But while she does a phenomenal job, she's not alone in carrying the track. She's helped by an interesting chord structure: D to B minor to F sharp minor back to B minor, or in other words, flat 6, minor 4, minor 1, minor 4. Now, a classical musician would want to discuss this in terms of dominant, subdominant, switch, verse, bottom, top, etc. But we'll use a device I was introduced to by Adam Neely's video on Sweet Home Alabama to make it as simple as I can. In a loop of 4 chords, the first chord is our home chord. The third one is like a cabin upstate, and the second and fourth ones are the paths to and from the cabin. The thing is that while none of the chords sound too harsh in the scale of F sharp minor, the home chord, the flat 6, just doesn't sound that homey, and the most comfortable place harmonically is the temporary resting point of F sharp minor. This helps make the verse monotone but not boring, and recontextualizes Anjulie's performance to pull it closer to that apathetic headspace. Now, Gray's Cynicism isn't the only emotion on display in Stronger's instrumental DNA. It's a song with a little bit of a character. It teeters on the edge of overwhelming you with its punchy percussion and abrasive basses, while exerting just enough self-control that the dissonance and aggression doesn't spill over. Notably, this is greatly helped by the fact that the basses have a slow attack, meaning they give your brain a little bit of time before reaching their peak and don't hit you at full volume. This self-restraint doesn't stop the drop from feeling incredibly different. If the first is a toddler that bumped into your leg, the drop is a freight train. And the sound design is elevated by the composition. The rhythm is still the same, but because the bass is so in your face, the 4/4 time is accentuated, each beat highlighted by a note, a kick, or both. On top of that, the chord progression that was built up is suddenly left behind for a more, yeah, we're in F sharp minor type of feel. The key doesn't change, but where before the loops felt like they were flowing, maybe even moving towards a final destination, here it feels obstinately still. This highlights our drops melody, a reprise of the synth line in the verse. It stays pretty close to the original, only peppering in a few additional points of tension, in the form of minor seconds and major sevenths. It helps the song feel a little more cohesive, with the amount of musical and lyrical themes that clash, pushing it further musically by changing the melody or the key in the drop might have been a little too much. So you end up with a transition from the verse to the drop that still feels jarring without requiring any extra effort on the listener's part. And with this, I hope I've established that Stronger is a masterclass, not just in creating ambiences, but in weaving them together into a narrative. But what is that narrative? In my opinion, the song is about self-destruction. Destruction through unbridled, aimless anger, and destruction through crushing, all-encompassing apathy. What makes Stronger's case so interesting though is that it never truly sways one way or the other. It has its extremes, but even then elements of the other theme can be found, like the synth in the verse or the soft attack on the basses in the drop. But because the two threads are so drastically different, yet so tight-knit in the song's structure, whether that be lyrically or compositionally, both end up feeling awkward and uncomfortable. And rightfully so, self-destructive emotions, whether they manifest as anger or sadness, are not sustainable. And none of this is ever explicitly said to the listener. At best it's implied, but I don't want to speculate on ethereal intent. That's both a sign of respect and a mark of greatness. The song trusts us to be able to get it without any hand-holding, but the message is concise enough that it's even possible in the first place. When I picked Stronger as the song I wanted to talk about, I couldn't have known it presented this much depth. But at the same time, I'd like to think I had an idea of that. After all, part of the reason I had for picking Stronger in the first place was that I thought it'd be interesting to choose a song from a genre that is generally not considered that artsy, and then prove that it was, in fact, artsy. And I think there's something fitting about the fact that in an aggressive genre like dubstep, with a listener base that's stereotyped as young, male, disillusioned, and angry, this song serves as a deconstruction of anger and indifference. Now, you might think that this isn't apparent when listening to the song, and that's perfectly valid. I only analyze what the song makes me feel, and in fact, I'd like to make this a space to exchange and discuss perspectives about music. So if you truly feel differently, please do tell me about it. I would actually unironically like nothing more than to hear your opinion on that specific song. Not every song is stronger, but if it can get popular within that genre, there's something to be said about the artistic merits of dubstep and the future of the genre. I, for one, am excited to see where it goes, and I'll be looking out for TheFatRat's, Anjulie's, and Slaydit's future works. Thanks for watching. As I said in the beginning, this took me an unreasonable amount of time, so if you thought that was pretty good, you're 100% allowed to do the whole subscribe, comment, like, share on Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr, MySpace, Google+, Pinterest. I don't know any other social networks, so. All the relevant link, as well as my social media, are in the description. Since I'm terrible at this upload schedule thing, you should probably follow me if you want to receive a notification in 6 months that I uploaded a second video. Yeah. That's it. That's the end of the video. Alright, I know I said I was going, but I lied. Right now it's almost 1 a.m. April 7th, and I just finished editing, and I'm recording this on my phone, so I hope it sounds okay. So first off, as you can guess, I filmed all of this way before the world was plunged into a global pandemic. I left my place to go into quarantine with my family, and I did take my mic and one guitar, but I don't really have a room, so recording music is a little complicated. I'll try to complete the next video, which is the make a song part of the project, but I'm pretty shy about my singing, so if I don't feel like belting in front of my family, I'll try to make another video in the meantime, and I have a few ideas of where to start, but feel free to add suggestions. Secondly, after watching this, I feel like I was a little too snarky in places, so sorry for that. Regarding what I said about toxic masculinity, I just want to reiterate that I don't think that masculinity is inherently toxic, but you know, just that sometimes standards for who gets to be manly and who doesn't are destructive to my dog is making a lot of noise, are destructive to ourselves or others around us. For example, it makes no sense that we can only express like negative emotions through anger. You know what I mean? Like you're frustrated or sad or depressed or, you know, crushed, like something horrible happens to you and you want to have a mental breakdown. Like the Hollywood version of that would have you throw some shit at the wall. You know what I mean? As for the listener base for dubstep, I meant to refer to gamers. I don't know if that was obvious, but like when I used to game a lot, I used to listen to a shit ton of dubstep, and I know that's especially true for the TheFatRat fans since he's very like well known in those circles. And yeah, they are stereotyped as being young men who get angry for no reason and live alone. Like, yeah, gamers, I'm pretty sure statistically are mostly male, but you know, the rest is more made up by old Republicans who want you to think that Timmy, the Call of Duty player, is responsible for gun violence and not the NRA, but that's, you know, another debate, so I don't want to get into that. But basically the point was that Stronger negates the stereotype, and it just says, hey, this is a song decrying anger and sadness, and the cover art is a badass sword lady facing a spider monster. So, yeah. Oh, that was very loud. I'm so sorry. I'm blowing into the mic. I'm stupid. Sorry, my bad. Fourthly, there were a few things here and there that I felt I could have done better. Most important of all, the sound during the voiceover parts, which I'll try to fix next time around, I didn't like. It sounded too resonant, whereas when I was on camera, it sounded just fine. So I think it was just the way I recorded it, so I can fix that, but next time. And the presentation also wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. There were some really cool images. The Cynicism versus Anger one, I think, is a really cool screenshot. I might make that my thumbnail. But you know, it's my first try and I haven't found my footing just yet, but like I'm pretty happy with the work I've done so far. Well, already 420 late. Okay. Yeah, and finally, there will be a future addendum to this video where I'll be discussing the music itself in more detail and correcting potential mistakes. Since I just found out TheFatRat is cool with people using his work on YouTube, but it'll have to wait for me to do a little more work on those and possibly acquire stems to the song. Yeah, alright, now you can go for real. Sorry for... Shit, I flew in the mic again. Sorry for holding you hostage for so long. Thanks for watching. Bye.